Hey guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Today we'll be talking about which I really wanted to talk about, and I haven't got to it, but today I'm get to it. And today we'll be talking about is trust and promises that deals with trust. So let me get into the video. I remember when I was like still in high school, and I had so many promises growing up, and this is after my mother had passed away, which I haven't got to that story, and I need to get to it ASAP to tell you guys so you guys can understand what's really going on. However, when my mother had passed away and I left schools, I went to a different high school and continue on. I'm not going to mention a name or anything because I would like to leave them anonymous. That's it. When I transferred to a different school and my dad had found a house close to the school, keep in mind that when that was going on, I was still going through the process of the grieving process of my mom passing away and stuff, and everything went sideways. I did mention in a previous video that my mom always had to convince them to do something for me in order to get things done. But before that, while that was even happening, they always tried to go somewhere with me, or if I asked them to go somewhere with me, and they would be like, "Oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that," whenever they had time. And this is the main part that deals with promises and trust, is because when someone make a promise to you, you trust them to believe that that promise is gonna be fulfilled. Especially around my age, like through my teenage years of me finishing high school, I went through that with my siblings. And the main problem about trust and promises is that they both fit in the same category, because you trust that person when they give you a promise about they're gonna do something for you, and you trust them in that category as you believe that promise is actually going to happen and is going to be fulfilled. That's when you see that it's not happening. And the reason why I say promises and trust is like very important, because you see those people making their word come true, and you have that thought that that promise is going to be succeed, and you, like I said before, you trust them. A story time about that, when I was like, I would say about 17 in high school, actually 16 and 17, but I'm gonna say 17. When I was 17 years old and I was like almost like finished with my senior year, I remember that I think my sisters before I turned a certain, I think it was 17. Oh yeah, my sisters would call, and one of them would be like, "Hey, do you want to go do this?" And I said, "Yeah, why don't you come pick me up?" Because my dad didn't have transportation. He was like catching a train and bus and stuff. And my sisters and them had a car. And I would be like, "Sure, come pick me up. Just let you know that, just let me know when you get here and stuff." I'll be like that. And I realized when I told them that, they'd be like, "Okay, we're gonna come at this time, certain day." Next day, never happened. The next week, never happened. The next following week, never happened. And then when I would call them, they'd be like, "Oh, I forgot we were supposed to meet up," and all that other stuff. And they didn't forget. They really did not forget. They just didn't really care. They didn't want to get me. They didn't want to come and get me. But they sometimes did fulfill their promises because they felt bad that they never succeeded on the promises, and they knew I would never forget the promises that they made and never fulfilled them. And I just let it go, because I was like, I'm gonna do this on my own one day, my own self. I'm just gonna get up, do it myself, and I have to ask them. They ask me, I'm gonna be like, "No, I don't need y'all help." And that's what trust and promises become broken, because you trust them, you like promise you, and you think that promise is gonna be fulfilled, and like that's your trust putting into their ideas of what they gonna do with you when they come and visit you or something like that. And this continued on until I was 20, and then it just now since I'm an adult, it just stopped. It stopped for a reason, because now I'm an adult and I can do things on my own and I don't have to depend on them. That's another reason it stopped. It stopped for that reason, because I'm an adult now. Like I said, when I hit 21 through now 23, I was already an adult. Now I'm still an adult in my 20s since I'm 23, and round of applause for that, because now I can do things without having to ask them. I put quotation marks because I feel like sometimes if you do need help with your siblings, if you need help with certain things, your siblings, your female sisters, aka your siblings, will understand and they can help you out. It's not gonna always be your parent, because sometimes your parents don't understand what's going on because they have that mentality from back in the day, what they thought they knew was easy to get. However, it's really not. They're my age. So yeah, that is no longer in the picture. But I remember that they always promised me. They continue on from like 2015 to 2018. Yeah, by the time I graduated from high school. This had continued from those time points, years when I was a teenager and still in high school. 18, I graduated, and it happened every so often when I was in when I started college, but it wasn't as much because I was like doing my own thing. In a teen, when I was in high school, I was just like, they'll always try to promise me everything they could, and every time they'll promise me something, it'll be like, where's the promise? And then they'll then when I call them up and say, hey, what happened to this and that, they'll tell a story saying, oh, I forgot this, I forgot that, they'll just say they forgot, when they really didn't forget. They just didn't want me to be around them. And I feel like that's the way I look at things now. That's probably the reason, because I was like, I'm 23 now, so when I sit here and realize certain things that happened when I was in high school, it just made me realize that they didn't want me to be around them. They didn't want me to be underneath them, because they knew I didn't have the same interests as them. And that is true. We don't have the same interests. We are not the same. If my family members say if I act like one of my sisters and I remind them of them, that's a false accusation. That's a lie. It is a lie. Because if we was the same, we would have the same ideas, the same hangout groups, the same group of people, the same interests. We have none of those. Just because we look like in the face doesn't mean we're gonna have the same personality. And that's what it just I can't stand that. To this, I'm realizing now when I'm talking, like I hear myself, I'm like, I can't stand that. I can't even stand why they say I always look like one of my siblings, because I don't. We don't even share the same category of interests and all that other stuff, so on and so forth. To continue on, the promises were just like, it was just like made up, all the other stuff, blah 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 blah, and they knew I would be upset about it. And they knew they weren't honest about it. So every time I got upset, it just hurted me. It did burn down my, I want to say self-esteem, but my self-esteem is very high. I try to make the best out of it. I can't say that my self-esteem will become low, because I wanted to, like, I don't know. I think self-esteem is not in the right category for me, because my self-esteem is very high, because I have those ideas that I'm accomplish certain things as I get through the progress of being hurt all the time. I think I said being hurt all the time, and the promises not being fulfilled, and me putting my trust in them was a dangerous thing, because I felt like every time they promised you something, or I asked them to do something for me, they will fulfill that promise. But it's like, it's disappointing, because the promise will be there, and then they'll just they would just tell me a story just to make me feel bad, because they felt like it wasn't their fault that they had to do something, which it isn't. But if you're not gonna come and visit, or don't have time to visit, please call them and be like, hey, I'm taking it. You don't have to tell me your personal business. Say, hey, I'm taking care of some business. Be like, hello, hey, little sis, I'm taking care of some business right now. I won't be able to come visit you this week. Maybe next week I'll come visit you. Blah, blah, blah. I'll call you back whenever I have time. Bye. And just hang up the phone. That's all you had to do. Like, that's all they had to do, and they failed to realize that. It's just that I put my trust in them. They told me, they asked me they were gonna do something for me, which was a promise, without saying the word promise. But they'll say, hey, I'll make sure I get this done for you, or you wait to call me and remind me, and something like that. And when I do call, and then when they did say call them and remind them, they never picked up the phone. Never. And I will just be like, why are you not picking up the phone? Like, you tell me to call you guys, to pick up the phone, to do this for me, and all that other stuff, and it's never fulfilled. That's out of me. That means I put my trust into the wrong people to help me out, or spend time with me when you got something else to do. If you have something else to do, call. Just call me and be like, hey, I'm doing this right now, and I'm handling my business. I want to be able to spend time with you. I always want my siblings to be honest with me. They know, all they knew how to do was tell lies. If they did know how to tell a promise, they'll tell me ahead of time or the next day, and just be like, oh, this is what happened. But they don't tell in detail, which is fine. But just say you couldn't go because you had to take care of some business. That's all I ask. And it's kind of sucks that I'm just saying the same thing, because it's just like it happened over and over. My siblings were never honest with me. They didn't have to be. I said they don't have to be in too detail in what's going on in their lifestyle. They could be like I said, handling their business. I won't get back in touch with you until I'm done, or probably next week we can reschedule something just to pull it off. Yes, keep in mind they do have kids. I understand that kids always come first. Your family should always come first. That's not a problem. But when you're like not busy doing anything, you call your little sister and be like, hey, I'm not doing this, but do you want to come over and hang out? And then you said sure, and then you don't have transportation. They get there, but if you guys got a car, you can just come and pick me up, and they'd be like, okay, yeah, sure, we can do that. They'll do that, and then they'll hang up, and then the next day it'll just happen, and it'll happen. And then sometimes it go like, it don't even go like, it go like weeks, then it go months, and then it go like it's a whole new year. It'll be like 2019 or 27 or not 2017, 2019 or 2020. This happens, and you just be like, we went like 2 years without even talking, because you made these promises and you never fulfilled them. And they sit here and think, and I'll call them, and like I said, I'll be like, hey, what happened to the promise? And they'll be like, oh, I forgot. So you let 2 years pass by. You make 1 year pass by, then you make another 2 years another year that we in, and you let that year pass by, and we in a new year, and you forgot to tell me that you were busy doing something else, and we could have rescheduled a whole nother time, but you decided to, oh, dang, that since I'm your little sister, we gonna just let her wait it out, or she might forget. Knowing I'm like you know me, I'm better than this. I'm smarter than y'all in this situation. When y'all make up lies and stuff, you can't play the card game. You failed. At trying to make a promise and then pretend you forgot. Who does that? I know everybody does it, but who does that consistently over and over and think they can get away with it? I'm just laughing at it now, because I was like, yo, you gonna keep doing this to me, and then one day y'all gonna need me to do something for y'all? because y'all know I can fulfill that promise and pull it off myself. You know that if I ever, let's say if I ever broke a promise to my nieces and nephew. If I ever broke a promise to my nieces and nephew in front of my siblings, which is their kids, which are my nieces and nephew, if I ever broke a promise like that, they'll be talking crap behind my back without me being around them. I know I got two. I know I got a couple sisters that say it in front of my face, in front of everyone, but the other ones was talk behind my back when I'm not there and go off and say, why did she do this and that? I'm pretty sure. I'm 100%. I'm 100% because that will probably happen if I ever broke a promise or let my niece and nephew put their trust in me to fulfill something for them. Fulfill something for them that they needed or wanted, or they want to spend time with me, and I don't get to do it. I will just be like waiting a couple of months or a week or maybe a year for them to forget, and then they'll call me and be like, "Oh, you forgot to do this for me. I thought you was gonna come visit me or something like that, or take me to this amusement park or something like that." And I'll be trying to make up an excuse like, "Oh, I forgot." When I could have just really called them and said, "Hey, I won't be able to make it. And we can reschedule or something else." I could have been like that, or I could have been like how my sister began forgetting that they made these promises and they let it go, fizzle out. They fizzle it out and make sure I think I forgot. That's what it could have been. Hold on. Okay, that's better. I had to get my camera. The green light. The camera is on. I'm using my phone. I don't know why I made that mistake. Sorry about that. But that could have happened. And for me to not think about it that way, but it did happen, and I accepted it. I accepted that they were never going to fulfill their promise whenever they can. And the sad part about this is that your parents will be like, you have to remind your siblings to do this or that for you, or get them to spend time with you. You have to remind them. And I'm looking down right now because I'm like, yes, I know we get that certain age when we start to forget things because we got a lot of things on our mind and stuff, and we have to be able to do it and maintain it while still dealing with kids and job and stuff. But when you're on the weekend and you're not doing anything, which is, I know it's their day off, but when you try like to make that promise and you be like, hey, we made that promise on that Saturday or something like that, why do I have to remind you for something that you made a promise of? Why do I have to remind you of something about it? Anyone who, after I finished this video, anyone who watched my video and look at this, you think about that question. Why do we as young siblings or anyone who's a family member have to remind someone in our family about something that they made a promise to a couple of days ago or a week ahead? Like, why do we have to remind you of something that you made a promise to, that we put our trust into because we knew that promise was going to be fulfilled? I think that's why that saying is always saying, don't get your hopes up. I see why people use that saying, don't get your hopes up, or lower your expectation of what you might and might not get, because that was such a downfall and a low expectation that's too high, or whatever I said before that. But yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't make deep. Don't. Another story time, when I was home I was dealing with school and I came home. Okay. When I came home, I remember a promise that one of my sisters had made. It was before Halloween. she offered me to go to a pumpkin patch with my nieces and nephew, and I wanted to go, but I didn't want to get no pumpkin for me. I wanted to get a pumpkin for someone else because I knew it was like around fall time, Halloween season. Everybody loves Halloween, and I wanted to get the pumpkin for that specific person so they can get ready to be able to carve out a pumpkin and enjoy what it's like to carve out a pumpkin. And that promise was supposed to be fulfilled, but it never came through. I guess she had something else better to do, but I highly doubt it because they never responded. They never called back. And I told her before that, like, I set boundaries. I was like, hey, if you're going to do something else, let me know. Call me. Don't sit here and wait for me. Don't have me sit here and wait for you guys to come and you guys don't come. Call me and say, if you have something else to do, just let me know. I will just understand that and move on. This is another thing. I asked them to be honest with me. I asked them to call me to be honest and be like, hey, I got to take care of some business. I won't be able to come and get you. I'm going to do something else and all that other stuff. When I was following my sister and she took my niece and the nephew and her son, I saw it on Instagram that the picture that they actually went, and I just didn't get to go, which is fine. I was like, okay, it is what it is. But I still felt disrespected because they could have been like, hey, we won't be able to take you because the car is full or something like that. We don't have enough seats. It's too much. And I think the only reason why I didn't get to go is because I set a boundary for them to let them know to be honest with me if they're not going to come pick me up. I think when you start setting boundaries for yourself as a sibling that's young or whatever, as you start to get older, they don't like that you're they don't like that you're setting boundaries for yourself to protect yourself from being hurt. And they think that them keep making promises is going to be like, oh, it's okay, like, it's okay, like, she's gonna get over it, she's gonna be like nothing happened or something, and they wait for like a year or so. Learn my lesson. The moral of the story about promises is what I'm trying to say is that promises and trust is that your promises that people promise you about are the ones that know that they said that promise, they put, you know, that in your mind when they ask you about that promise or they plan on doing something with you as a promise, that you put your trust in them, and that affects your trust in the nearby future because you selected these promises that they say they were going to do for you. And though your trust was still strong enough and you trust them and it didn't come through, or it did come through and now you trust them more. From this experience, I learned that don't depend on your siblings. Don't depend on your siblings when they promise you something because it's not going to be fulfilled. There will be sometimes they'll fulfill it, but it's not going to be all the time. It's just a waste. It's a story that they just telling to make themselves look better and make them be like the good sibling. When the harsh reality, you are not. You are not the good sibling. You never were. And if you were, you wouldn't be making promises and then forgetting to succeed to the promises, and no one might lose trust around you of who you are or who you going to be. But anyways, about trust and promises that I like to add in here, the only people that are actually able to pull off a trust and a promise to me, and I still trust it today, is one is my aunt and the other one is my father. Those are the only two that was able to pull through a promise to me when growing up, and they pulled it off. That's the only two I trust that was able to build it without I will be able to run to and ask something and they'll pull it off. My siblings, maybe a little bit, but it'll be all talk and no bite. I won't get anything. It would be blown underneath the rug like it was nothing. Like I don't remember what they had promised me. So yeah, that's a learning lesson in there. To my future self, who may look at this video one day, I would like to see how I went throughout the years, able to be independent and not have to stress, and succeed with all my accomplishments without worrying about a promise or putting my trust into someone. But by the time that happened, I'll be having my own business and stuff. So even though that's going to be a learning experience, I know that trust is going to be important, because when starting a business, you're going to hire people and you're going to need them to trust, and you're going to need them to trust that they'll get the job done, which is a different category of like family and trust. But you got, I just know from this experience who will deal with my family, I just know that there's people that I can trust and there's people I can't, and then I gotta learn to use that as an experience when starting a business, but not look at the people that I work with as family, but look at the people as my employees who are going to be working for me for forever, unless they decide to leave the work that they've been working with me for years and to do something else. So yeah, I know that's all talking about the trust, but that does fit in the category of trust and promises, because you still believe in that person to succeed, that promise in the workforce, and that trust that you've given to that person to succeed, to make the business become successful and succeed within that promise that they offer you. So yeah, that's a different category. Business is different from family and all the other stuff, but I just had to add that in there because that's another category for a future. So I know I made it long, but back to the promises and trust. This is a learning experience for me. Yeah, since I'm 23, I don't get that many promises or trust. I don't even expect it no more, actually. It's just like they come to visit when they come to visit. They come to hang out with me when they come to hang out with me. It is what it is, but I get this, in my future self, and now after I finish school, I get the feeling that once I start my next chapter, I'm pretty sure they're going to try to want me to fulfill promises, and I'm going to do it like they did me. Be like, oh, I forgot, or pretend that they were supposed to call me and be like, hey, I forgot that I was supposed to come and do this. I'm just going to be like that. Probably won't. I'll just probably be like, no. Because I think me being honest is more of me, and then them lying and telling the story or forgetting or just blowing it underneath the rug is them. Not honest. These are not on my siblings are not honest people, but me just by myself, I'm an honest person. So you got honest people versus not so honest people, and my siblings fit into the category of not so honest. I got more story times if you want to know about those, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. Also, share this video with a friend if you know that they can relate to the situation. And bye. Yeah, bye.